why those orange lines are there, but I'll go back. I wasn't going to talk about psychoweed unless I had a lot of time, but I'll make that point now. This year, this big peak, can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, that big peak is the THC acid, undecarboxylated, and you can see that the area of the peak is directly proportional to the concentration of the compound that made it. So the bigger the peak, the more concentrated the compound. You see the THC acid peak is way out of proportion with the other cannabinoids. That's what I call psychoweed. And I'm afraid that's what we're breeding here in BC, because every BC bud sample I look at has got this huge THC acid peak and very little of the CBN and the CBD here. Right?
So does that mean that the government thought that it's higher in the CBC and CBN might actually be better for pain rather than getting high?
THC is involved in pain relief.
At a level, a balanced level.
Yeah, but it can also make you crazy. Program a couple of months ago, talking about schizophrenia in Canada. They said that people genetically predisposed to schizophrenia, smoking cannabis chronically will become schizophrenic, or chances are much better. Then they started talking about high THC cannabis, which, when you think of it, is all that anybody is looking for when they're growing cannabis, selecting plants that they think are going to be good. They're selecting the high THC plants, so that's all we end up with here in BC is high THC and very little else. Look at this. This is the CBD. It's higher than the THC over here. See, this is what I call a medicinal strain.
Is that after decarboxylizing?
Sorry?
Is that after you decarboxylize?
No, this is before decarboxylation. Both of these would be decarboxylated into an oral prep.
Is that a government weed sample?
I don't have one here, but it's kind of.
Was that the test that you're showing us? Was that data from the government sample?
No, this is from the strain from Vancouver Island.
Oh, okay.
And this is what I consider a very medicinal strain. This particular strain has taken a 15-year-old girl from daily grand mal seizures to seizures once a month when she's having her period. This is a significant reduction in a rare form of epilepsy in a young girl who was the youngest Canadian MMAR licensed patient. It's this strain here has come from a fellow in the audience that has really significantly changed this young girl's life. The reason it works is because of the high CBD, the antipsychotic cannabinoids. I believe that the CBD concentration should be at least a quarter of the THC concentration to prevent you from getting crazy. CBD is a sedatory cannabinoid. It slows down neurotransmission so that the epileptic's not firing as much. It has been shown to dramatically reduce rapidly growing breast cancers in a clinical study in California. A fellow named Fred Gardner called it the molecule of the year last year. It's an extremely important cannabinoid. I like to see it when I run profiles. When I see a high CBD, it always comes out first. But it's rarely seen because most of what I'm looking at is BC bud, psychoweed.
Is there a name for that strain?
Yeah.
All right.
Is there a name for that strain? I have temporal lobe seizures, and I've been looking for a pot that will actually work. They all help me a bit, but some of them do make me crazy. They make me go into my seizures.
I would be misleading you if I told you the name of this strain because it's a well-known Texada time warp strain. But it's one, I'm looking for the word,
Phenotype? Or?
within that broad strain is one that we found that has that high CBD content. We've looked at other Texato strains without it being.
Would it be closer to sativa or the,
Good question. A high CBD content is definitely an indica characteristic. Until you get to this, until you get more than THC, then it starts to go the other way, I believe. It gets confusing with. What is good for pain and sleep and sedation is high THC, moderate CBD, around 10, 12 milligrams of CBD and 120 to 200 milligrams of THC. That's a good ratio. I'll write it down.
Is it possible to have high CBD but no THC? Sorry? Is it possible to have high CBD but no THC?
Yes, GW Pharmaceuticals in the UK produces a product called Sativex, has a strain that produces only CBD. And I believe they have strains that produce only CBN, cannabidiol. I visualize them as having a computer on every plant.
Won't THC be oxidized to CBD over time?
THC does break down to CBN.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. If you leave cannabis around for a long time, you'll see the CBN concentration increase. 2 years, 3, they're not
and if it did
stable
wait that
condition.
long, would that make it better for pain relief?
It'll make it more stimulative, the higher CBN. A lot of people, our chronic pain people, as a rule, don't like CBN. It makes them anxious, so they want to relax and get pain relief.
I got a quick question about vaporizers. You're saying that the CBD breaks down at a higher temperature than the THC?
I didn't say it breaks down, I said it decarboxylates to the higher temperature.
Okay, so in that case, if you were vaporizing, wouldn't you be turning weed that's high in CBD into just absorbing the THC and leaving the CBD behind? Wouldn't that be kind of the opposite effect of one?
You know the volcano vaporizer?
Yes.
I use that as an example because it has 9 temperature settings.
Yeah.
If you're at temperature setting 7, you're leaving all your THC behind. Before temperature setting 7 is aromatherapy. There's a whole medicinal science around that. Those are very brain-active molecules, the aromatics and terpenes that will definitely work on nerve cells in an anesthetic-like way. They don't particularly bind receptors. But I believe that the euphoric experience from cannabis comes from those aromatics terpenes that you get below setting 7. If you go to setting 7.5, you'll launch the THC. Now you've got enough temperature to just kick it skyward. A little bit higher than that, the CBD will go. But you got to be about setting 7.5 to get THC from the volcano.
To get CBD? Oh, Ted's got questions.
I have a question, Paul, I'd prefer to ask in public. I believe joints are superior to vaporizers because vaporizers work at one specific temperature that doesn't change. Because CBD, CBN, THC, and the other cannabinoids have got various temperatures that they both convert over and then secondly, are made available. Would it not be that joints are superior because they have a variable temperature from the time you first start taking a toke? As it gets, the heater gets bigger, the temperature goes up, and so you would be burning off the full range of cannabinoids as the joint temperature varied. Would you agree with that?
That seems like something to think about while you're doing it.
What do you think of using a water pipe to reduce the damage that is done to the lungs by smoking?
It'll remove particulates. It's probably better than smoking in a joint. I may seem like I'm really down on smoking. I'm not, but I'm a human pathologist, and smoking is just not good for us. Oral consumption of cannabis is much better once you get onto it, of course.
What about oils? Have they been broken down in the manufacture of the oil?
Yeah, it's heat applied. Often oils are partially converted. When somebody brings an oil or a home prep or a baked good or something they made it themselves, bring it into the lab